Hello and welcome to the Magic the Blabbering Podcast. I'm your host, Nick, with Josh, and this time also Jim, Omega Manwich, our resident Final Fantasy lore fanboy that we have here to explain what the heck these cards mean.
Yeah.
I'll do my
So,
best. I've played a lot of these games, or some I haven't, though.
well, I'm sure we're going to get more than we asked for out of every card that we asked for. How many of the games have you played? Or maybe let's have you introduce yourself, Jim. Why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Okay, that works. So I am Jim Gardner. Some of the people out there might know me as James, Bucky, or even Omega Manwich. I've been playing Magic since '93. I only started buying in '95, though, with the release of Ice Age. Back when
Same.
DCI was a thing, I was always floating between the first and second pages of the top players in Kansas City. I've led a couple of competitive Magic teams. Was even ninth place one time during Grand Prix Milwaukee back in the early aughts, and then I lost a couple games and that didn't work. But I would have done better competitively if I wouldn't have had this pesky quirk about never wanting to play a net deck and succeed on my own deck building abilities. I've quit Magic 4 or 5 times, and I always get pulled back in because I'm a packhead. I've played EDH/Commander since right around when the format started, and it's my preferred way to play Magic to this day. As far as Final Fantasy goes, it's my favorite video game series of all time. I started with 7. I bought 8 on launch day, and those two remain my favorite of the series. But along with Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy Tactics, I've beaten all of those at least 8 times in my life. I've also played a bunch of the other games, 1, 5, 9, 12, 13, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, Final Fantasy X-2, because they've started doing sequels to the individual games now. And I have Final Fantasy 15 and 16 ready to go. I haven't been able to play them yet, but I did just finish Final Fantasy Final Fantasy VII Remake here recently. So it's favorite video game series of all time. I mean, I can't. It's huge with me.
They didn't get you pulled into 14, isn't that the MMO?
Oh, the MMOs I stayed away from.
Smart.
Dude, I got addicted to Ultima Online back in the day, and it sucked a year of my life away, and I was like, never again.
Okay. Yeah, you can't have too many big hobbies. I mean, Final Fantasy and Magic, pretty hard to manage all that. So yeah, so I hope everyone here knows we have a very credentialed, storied player in both domains to kind of really send us off today. Jim, why don't you start off by opening the first card for us?
Well, let's start with some very flavorful cards, and it's a triad of them. It's Suplex, Phantom Train, and Sabin Master Monk. Now, Sabin Master Monk is a character from Final Fantasy VI. I don't think I mentioned 6, but I did play that one. He's the monk character. He's got special moves that he can do, and it was unique with that one because to pull off the moves, you had to do basically like Street Fighter commands. And he had this one move called Suplex, where he would literally pick up one of the bad guys, jump in the air and then slam them down. Well, there was no size restriction on that at all. So there's a part where they fight a boss that's called the Phantom Train. And he could literally suplex the train, which is why the suplex card shows a guy running right at a train. It's amazing. it's one of the most flavorful one of the most flavorful parts of this set.
So Suplex, for those at home, Suplex is 1 in a red sorcery. Choose 1. Suplex deals 3 damage to target creature. If that creature would die, this turn exile it instead, or exile target artifact. So almost a strict braid upgrade, but they kept it at sorcery speed, so we didn't get it out. But another spot where Final Fantasy is really pulling out some value, even in the common uncommon slot. Um, and it's taken out a Phantom Train, which is a goofy little vehicle. And it's all thanks to this legend. So now you have to have a red-black theme deck to do it all.
I love the flavor text they put on this too. The time has come to put my training to use.
Training, get it?
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Josh, I know you might have some juicy cards to bring to Jim's attention. What would you like to lead with?
Yeah, I want to talk about this card. I don't even know how to say it. It's like a frog. Kinaku Gourmet. It's a legendary creature, 2 and a green. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus a 1/1 green frog is created instead. And then you can sacrifice a frog and put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's a 2/3.
So I believe it's Kina Q, I think. This is from 9. 9, I think I've only beaten once in my life. I've played it multiple times, but from what I remember, Kina is one of the characters that you get in your party later in the game. Kind of along the same lines as Kate Sith from 7. Some of the people out there might know who that is. But it's just a funky little monster thing that
does it eat
there's
frogs?
usually one. Yeah. I seem to remember there being, definitely a frog theme with it, but I don't think I've played 9 in probably a good 10 years.
Yeah,
Okay,
so the art shows like a blue, like looks like a gen with like a chef's hat and a giant fork like chasing a frog, and it's got like a big frog tongue.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have
the
any
face
idea
kinda
what
looks
it's supposed to be? Like, what is a Kui?
I
You or
have
whatever.
no idea.
I
Me
think
either.
it's I think
With
it's
some
its own
spirit.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think
it's
it was
just a
some
super
spirit.
deep cut from 9 then. So they're going deep for some of these. And it hunts frogs. We picked the wrong game, Josh. Wrong game for this one.
That's the only one I was curious about. The others are
More mechanical.
more mechanics. So
Okay. Well, all of mine are flavor for the most part. So I'd love to read a card. Choco Seeker of Paradise. It's 1 green, white, and blue for a legendary creature bird. Whenever you attack with one or more bird creatures you control, whenever one or more birds you control attack, look at that many cards from the top of your library and you put one of them into your hand, and then put any number of land cards revealed this way from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest in your graveyard. Landfall, whenever land you control enters, Choco gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and it's a 3/5. All right, so I've even played a couple Final Fantasy games. I've seen these Chocobos. They're kind of like, I don't know, ostrich mounts or some kind. What's the deal? What's with all the chickens?
what's
I
the
don't get it.
deal? What's the deal with these chocobos?
Tell me about the chicken.
So the Chocobos, the first time I was introduced to them was in Final Fantasy VII. You come across a Chocobo ranch, and it's literally a place where you end up breeding Chocobos. And there's different colors of Chocobo. There's the yellow, which is the normal Chocobo. There's, see if I can remember this right. There's green, which is the river chocobo, I believe. There's the red, which is the mountain chocobo. River means it can walk on rivers. Mountain means it can walk over the mountains. There's a black chocobo, which can walk over both. And then there's also a gold chocobo, which can go everywhere. It can walk on the ocean. And in Final Fantasy VII, the Gold Chocobo is something you have to get to be able to get the best summon in the game.
Oh, okay.
But as far as Chocobos related to Final Fantasy, they're in all of the games. There's certain things that are mainstays in every single game. Chocobos are there. It may not be the red, black, gold ones, but there's definitely Chocobos in all of them. And you can see in the picture for Choco, in the background there, it's Zidane from 9, and I forget the specific name of that Moogle. They're either called Moogles or Mogs. Those are also throughout all of the Final Fantasy games somehow.
The Moogles, Chocobos, and Sids.
Yes, Sids. And then the summons themselves are also... there are 4 or 5 of the summons are in every game, and then there are others that are in some and not in others, and things like that. So with the Chocobos, it's definitely paying homage to the one of the mainstays of the games, kind of like how they have the other Chocobo that's just the regular green. It's like 1 green and 2, but they have the serialized version of it and the gold Chocobo and all that. That's why.
Gotcha.
So the gold one is the serialized. Is that the one that's in Final Fantasy VII, the gold one?
Yes. That's the one that's the best Chocobo in the game.
So that's why it's one of 77, I'm guessing, is for Final Fantasy VII. Okay. Yeah, and then there's like the red, the black, the green, all different, like the neon ink cards that you can get to, and the collector boosters. So, okay, makes sense now.
Well, speaking of summons, you seem to want to bring up a few summons, so why don't you tell us about that?
Well, there's 2 that I wanted to absolutely hit on. The first one is Bahamut. Let me pull it back up so I can see what it does. I'll just read through it. It's a 9 colorless, 9 generic mana. Summon Bahamut. It's a Saga Dragon enchantment creature. It's a 9/9 for 1 and 2. It's destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. 3 is draw 2 cards, and 4 is Mega Flare. This creature deals damage equal to the total mana value of other permanents you control to each opponent.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this one is... The specific one that they're doing here is the one from Final Fantasy X. But Bahamut is a mainstay of Final Fantasy. Every game has a Bahamut in it. And it's usually... So yeah, it's one of, if not the most powerful summon in the Final Fantasy games. And Mega Flare, all of these summons, they're either called summons, espers, eidolons, they're called different things, but it's, summon magic is what brings them. They all have some ultimate attack that they do, and Mega Flare is Bahamut's. Literally, I mean, it's some of the greatest animation in the games. He rears back and it's like Godzilla breath. And it's usually just some big explosion that happens, which is, that's very flavorful for what they did there.
Okay. So that's pretty cool. It actually, these summons always, I feel funny reading them because, old Magic cards used to be like summons and not creatures. So it's like kind of like a weird, like bringing it back around to hear like summon Bahamut, summon this, summon Hypnotic Spectre, summon Bahamut,
Summon enchantment creature.
Summon Shivan Dragon, Like, cool. You had a few you want to talk about, right? Not just Bahamut.
Yeah, then the other one I wanted to talk about is Knights of the Round. That's not the right one.
It's just Knights of Round.
Knights of Round?
Yeah.
Weird. Oh, I thought it was Knights of the Round. Played Final Fantasy VII a whole bunch of times and never knew it was only Knights of Round.
It might be edited for Magic.
Maybe they ran out of space, yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it looks like that's kind of what it is. So, before I read off the card, I'll tell you exactly what Knights of the Round is. Knights of the Round is the ultimate summon from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh.
It's the one you need the gold chocobo to find this remote island in the middle of the ocean, and there's a cave in it, and you can get this materia there. The materia is a little gem that you equip to one of your characters, and then they can cast the summon Knights of the Round. It costs a ton of magic points, but in succession, all 13 Knights of the Round Table show up and do an attack on whatever's there, and it hits everything that you're fighting against. And this is one of the only summons in the game of Final Fantasy VII that you can do way over 9999 damage.
Oh,
Because
okay.
each individual knight, if you have it leveled up enough and your character has high enough magic, can do 9999 to everything. So, it's almost 130,000 damage out of all of that.
Do some of the enemies actually have that much HP?
Yeah, they do.
Oh my gosh.
There in Final Fantasy VII, there's four big bosses called weapons. There's like Ultima Weapon, Omega, or I think Diamond Weapon, Ruby Weapon, and Emerald Weapon. Omega Weapons from 8. But they are these giant, they're like robot-y things, but they're from the planet. They kind of emerge, and it's like the planet's response to something that threatens it. And 2 of them you have to fight to beat the game. And then the other 2 are the 2 hardest things to fight in the game. One of them you have to fight underwater, one of them you fight in a desert. And they're entirely optional battles, but you have to really prepare for these.
Oh god.
And I have gotten to the point where I know exactly what I need to do that, but the first time I beat them, oh man, that was a feat. And one of the ways I did it was with Knights of the Round.
Yeah.
So with this card, it's 2 white and 6 for a 3/3 indestructible enchantment creature Saga Knight. For 1, 2, 3, and 4, you're creating 3 2/2 white knight creature tokens. I guess it's just 12. It's not 13 knights.
Well, it's 13 including itself.
Okay. There you go. But yeah, it's supposed to be, King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. And this is very flavorful because it's, you're creating 13 knights with this. Mm-hmm. And then ultimate end, other creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. Put an indestructible counter on each of them. That, game-wise, that is kind of a weird flavor take, but for it to be super powerful, I think that's pretty good, at least magic-wise, mechanically, and especially with the fact that it costs 8 mana to do.
Yeah.
And it takes 4 turns to make all those.
Yes.
Yeah. Unless you can manipulate it in some way. Yeah, I didn't actually notice it was indestructible the first time. Now that you read it, because these have such a weird text setup. But yeah, this might be the best night in Magic, not close now. It's kind of awesome.
I have plans to reanimate a whole bunch of Saga creatures.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
it looks like a ton of fun.
My wife plays the Tom Bombadil deck, and she's gonna love all these. Yeah, she's gonna love all these creatures for it.
Oh man, that's silly. Yeah, these are really cool. This is just a lore question for Final Fantasy. I know 7's like supposed to be like future fantasy sort of, and then there's the Knights of the Round Table. Like, what's going on with that? Arthurian legend is bleeding into this Japanese fantasy game. I'm just curious.
Everything pre-7 was, Super Nintendo era graphics, all that kind of stuff. 7 was groundbreaking because of the 3D graphics that they were using for it. But all of them before 7 were basically, high fantasy settings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 6 had a train in it, but, trains, they're steam engines, so, there's steampunk and all that. 7, think of 7 as Kamigawa Neon Dynasty of Final Fantasy. It's there's a lot of technology, and it's all because of this one corporation called Shinra, and they have figured out how to tap the life stream of the planet to turn it into energy, and then that's how they've built this huge city of Midgar, which is where you start. And then Final Fantasy VII, once you get done with Disc 1, or in the case of the new of the remake, once you get done with remake and go to Rebirth, you're out in the wilderness for a while. So it's kind of like back to
the roots,
high fantasy type thing. But then you come across other cities and villages, and there's still little bits of technology here and there. But yeah, it's 7 was the first one with that, and then 8, literally just the modern world with magic.
Oh, okay. Quick other question I forgot to ask when we were on Chocobos, and the Knights reminded me. Are there any horses in Final Fantasy? Or are they all just Chocobos?
I think.
Because I remember from when I played Tactics, all the Knights rode Chocobos. So I'm guessing these Knights ride Chocobos.
Yeah. Well, in Knights of the Round, they don't ride anything. They just show up.
That boy.
Yeah, you need to go look up the animation for Knights of the Round on YouTube and watch it. It is some pretty epic stuff.
Okay. Awesome. That's so cool. Okay. So we're getting these, that's why we're getting these epic saga-like creatures, because they're just like imbuing these ultimates and trying to translate it to Magic gameplay. And I mean, these cards are packing a punch. I mean, this is like an endless stream of dudes,
Mm-hmm. Well, and just a real quick note on the actual flavor of the mechanics for summons. It's perfect, because summons are usually you summon them, they do something, and they leave. In some of the later games, they have shown up, they stick around for a while, and then they leave, which is why I like them being a saga. I may not be a big fan of the saga card type itself, but it's perfect for summons, and I love that they made they've made them enchantment creatures, and made it a saga. It fits pretty perfectly.
And more Roman numerals, so even more on flavor.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Josh, do you want to hit us with another card? I'm loving where this is going so far.
Yeah, let's talk about Squall. This is one you wanted to talk about, I know. I think we all want to.
Yeah, I think we all want to talk about Squall. So my superficial one is, I remember this name. I don't know why. And then, why did you want to talk about him, Josh?
I mean, it looks like a pretty good card.
Yeah. So let's read it. Squall, Seed, Mercenary, and that's Seed with a capital D. 2 white and a black for a legendary creature, Human Knight Mercenary. Rough Divide. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until end of turn. Whenever Squall deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield.
So I wanted to talk about this card because Squall is my favorite protagonist out of all the Final Fantasy games. Let me kind of back it up. Where you start 8, you are a cadet at a place called Balam Garden. And what you're doing is you're training to become a seed, which is, basically kind of like, what is it, Blackwater in real life? The, just like mercenaries for hire.
Okay.
But they're called seed, and they got that special spelling and everything. But Squall wields one of the coolest weapons I think that has ever been made, even though it's impractical as hell. It's called a gunblade. It's literally a revolver as of the handle, and it's a big blade. So, like in the game, when you strike, you had to time it right, and then you could deal extra damage with the bullet from the gun when you hit them.
So it's a reverse musket?
Kind of. Yeah, it's like instead of a big gun with a small knife on the end of it, it's a big knife with a small gun.
Yeah.
And then with I don't know why I identify with Squall a lot. Just he was a loner and all that kind of stuff. And I wasn't, so it's weird. But so the first ability he's got, that Rough Divide, that's after his first limit break in the game. Limit breaks are like ultimate attacks that the characters can do. And Rough Divide is he literally just runs up and does this like upper strike with his sword, with his gunblade, and like jumps in the air, and there's like a little bit of an explosion. And so the double strike there is kind of a perfect representation of that. One of the big reasons I wanted to talk about it is because the second part of this card makes no sense flavor-wise.
Oh no.
Flavor-wise, I have no idea where they got that. He doesn't resurrect people in the game. He doesn't, he doesn't rebuild anything or anything like that. He's literally just, the closest thing he is, he's just, in D&D he'd be a fighter.
Okay.
I wonder if we're gonna get his gunblade and it costs 3. The equipment costs 3, so he can like get his blade back or something maybe.
That would be cool if they did something like that. Yeah, because I guess they haven't spoiled everything yet. So
yeah.
Is there anything you can rebuild, like use, or like do items break in Final Fantasy? I'm just trying to maybe like expand your thought process because it's any permanent, right? So
yeah.
Like, does he like
bring back things like Phoenix Downs and things like that? Phoenix
does he have to does he have to reload the gunblade or something?
No, Phoenix Down is
that brings you back to life, right?
Yeah, that brings you back to life, or kills an undead.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's got to be something with the gunblade. If they, I know that 8 wasn't as popular as some of the other ones, which is why we're not getting as many 8 cards as like 7 or 6 or even 10. But yeah, it's weird to me. I'm trying to wrap my brain around it, other than them being like, well, this is what black white does, so we're gonna staple this to it.
Yeah.
And I notice in his alternative art, he's with some lady and he's dressed up as like a, I don't know, very proper boy.
Oh, yes, that is that's Renoa Hartley.
They spoiled that card too, yeah.
Yeah. She's the love interest from 8.
Cool.
She is not my favorite female protagonist, though. I think she works for this, the love story that they put into it. But this particular thing in the full art one, the alternate art, he's wearing his, I believe that's his actual seed uniform. Because this is a celebration after he passes his seed exam.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And or no. That's later. I've played this game enough. I should know this. This is before they go on their last test, which is an actual field mission. But that's their like actual test, and that is their Class A student uniform.
Okay.
But that's it was some dance that was going on at Balam Garden, and that's where he met her for the first time.
Oh, okay. Cute. The meat cute.
Yep.
Josh, so you think the card's pretty good? Are you going to play him as a commander? Are you going to play him in some decks?
No, I don't think so. I'm looking at like standard, possibilities here, because you can get lands back from with them because it's non-land. So yeah, there's going to be a bunch of equipment out of this set, and I think it gives me like mini Titan vibes.
Yeah, I hear you there.
So
I mean, and also he's just like he's powering up your next attacker. And for Commander, being able to get back to fetch land, I mean, that gives them longevity. White-black really struggles with that. So if you just like get in, get my land back, now you can cast them again. So.
Well, and if you do the double strike, you get 2 things back.
Yep.
True.
So
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
a
know if
double
there's
land.
any black-white mill strategies out there, but that might be something
Might be the
to
plan.
consider. I mean, I know he's going to probably find his way into some of the standard bat decks that are out there and some of the aristocrats things, which I think that's part of the reason why I'm bummed at the second ability, even though, great ability and everything, it just doesn't feel like Squall.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good because I would have not have known. I've been like, I don't know why this guy does this, but sweet.
Well, I'm hoping they come out with a card that's Squall's Limit Break, because they have a Cloud Limit Break card, which is 3 of his other Limit Breaks, and it's a modal spell. So I'm hoping they kind of do that with Squall too, but we'll see.
He also might be one of the best mercenaries in the game. Mercenaries are getting a power up. Mercadian Mass,
right?
shout out. So many mercenaries lately. Oh,
Bust
that
out
makes
your
him
prophecy.
that makes him an outlaw too, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
outlaw combos.
Mhm.
He's gonna be with the Cowboys.
Yeah, bust out those mercenaries from Prophecy to search him up.
Yep. It's over. It's over. Okay. Who's next? Who wants to go next?
Ultimacia. So Ultimacia is the main villain from Final Fantasy VIII. And you actually don't even find out that Ultimacia is the main villain until like disc 3. But you find out she's the one that's been, manipulating things from the back, from the shadows. And this is actually a very flavorful card, this Ultimacia Time Sorceress. So it's 1 black and 1 blue and 3. Human Warlock, legendary creature. Whenever she enters or attacks, you surveil 2. And at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 4 2 blue and 2 black and exile 8 cards from your graveyard. If you do, transform Ultimacia. And when you transform her, she becomes a 7/7 menace. And then she has this ability called Time Compression. When this creature transforms into Ultimacia Omnipotent, take an extra turn after this one.
Oh my god.
One of the big themes of Final Fantasy VIII is time manipulation. So she's trying to compress time to basically rule everything. She can go back in time and inhabit the forms of other sorceresses. And there's a sorceress that is that was captured from a flashback that she can enter in. There's a sorceress Hadia from disc 1 that you find out that Ultimacia has been controlling the whole time. And this is another one where it's very flavorful with what they do, because she manipulates time. She, it's a very blue ability. And as much as I don't like extra turn cards, it fits for her. And at least it takes a little bit to get it to work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of effort in that.
8 mana and 8 cards in your graveyard.
Yeah, but it's really fun to see cards from things that you remember from your past, like this Final Fantasy stuff, become actual cards. And as I say that, let me just put forth, I'm not the biggest fan of Universes Beyond. I've always been kind of like, I want my Magic IP to be Magic. Like, I don't like Transformers in there, even though Transformers is one of my favorite toys growing up and all that. But for some reason, and I don't know if it's because I have a bias, or if it's my thing that showed up finally for Universes Beyond, but the Final Fantasy cards feel like Magic cards to me. Because Final Fantasy is inherently a Magic fantasy world. Even though each game is different from all the other ones and it's a different world, they all have magic at the core of it. And that Yeah, it just I've softened on Universes Beyond with this kind of stuff. Like I was kind of okay with Lord of the Rings, because it was at least still fantasy. D&D I was kind of okay with because it was at least still fantasy. You can kind of figure those as different planes of the Magic universe that we just don't go to. And it's I don't know. It just as I've been seeing the cards come out and everything, a lot of thought has been put into this.
Well, you can tell
a lot of lore thought.
We can tell Final Fantasy does the same. What I'm starting to get from kind of our conversation as it goes, it's I'm fantasy first, and then we go to 7, and it's almost like a Kaladesh or Avishkar type of feel. You're trying to get into that steampunk. You're trying to get into that like thing, but not totally. I mean, Cloud still uses a sword,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and the guy Squall uses a gun blade, so there's still the fantasy elements. I mean, I look at these cards, I don't see a bunch of out of place things. Like, yes, we have a train. Yes, occasionally we have like some modern technology, but it's still, I hear you. Like Ultimacia, I'm looking at her right now. She's like a straight up warlock. She looks like she could be any character in Magic. So, and I do want to harken back again. We talked about this on our last podcast, but all these cards read like Magic cards. They read kind of simply. I mean, even Lord of the Rings for me, a lot of those cards just read really weird, esoteric. Like, what is the ring outside the game thing? Even Dungeons and Dragons, they're weird dungeons, and that's Magic's actually kind of tied in some spiritual way to the IP of D&D, and that felt weirder to me than anything I've seen from Final Fantasy so far. I think the weirdest thing for me still is the cactus. That 9999. I just don't want to die to a lightning grease cactus. I just don't. It doesn't feel right. Okay, the stupid cactus.
Well, and that's one of the cool things with this set is they're not coming up with some weird new mechanic outside of the way Magic works to hit the flavor of the set. Like you said, the ring tempts you or you venture into the dungeon. The most flavorful thing they've come up with is within the rules of the game, which is the summons, which are the enchantment creature sagas. You knew at some point there was going to be enchantment creature sagas once they started having sagas and they started having enchantment creatures.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was inevitable that they were going to join up.
Yeah. So they're just, it feels like it's inside of Magic more so than it is outside of Magic.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so just cool to get our heads around that a little bit.
And real quick, Jumbo
yeah.
Cactar there's these things in all of Magic called cactars, which are little tiny cactuses, and they usually give the most
Final Fantasy, you mean, inside of Final Fantasy.
Sorry, Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
In all the Final Fantasy games, not Magic. They usually give like high advancement points for things, but they're super fast. Sometimes you can't even hit them. And then in Final Fantasy VIII, there's a Cactar Island, and roaming around that is the Jumbo Cactar. Cactars normally have an attack called 1,000 Needles, and they do 1,000 damage. So the Jumbo Cactar, if you beat it, it becomes a summon for you. But it has an attack called 10,000 Needles, and it deals 10,000 damage.
No, it does 9999, right?
Yeah, that's when I saw that card, I was like, man, that's flavorful as heck, but no.
Well, it's here.
That's gonna get
Colossus is now a cactus.
Oh my gosh.
Well, so at least it has flavor. Can the cactus one shot you in the game?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
yeah. If you don't have the right protections, it could absolutely one shot one of your characters.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. And Josh, what did you like about Ultima so much, or Ultimacia? What was your thing with her? You like that card? Did we talk about the right one? There's 2 of them.
Yeah. No, this is one Jim had down for flavor.
Oh, one Jim had down. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. All right.
The other one's actually just as flavorful too because of the time manipulation, because it taps creatures when it comes into play. So
yeah. So I want to talk about a card that's kind of on my radar for a few reasons. One, everyone keeps saying it's busted for Magic, and two, I just associate it with Black Mage, and I didn't know there was a character that was tied to the Black Mage look. So I'm going to want to talk about Vivi Ornithir, however you say that,
Ornidier. I don't know.
Ornidier.
I've never heard it pronounced because 9 didn't have voice acting yet.
Okay. Oh, whatever. The Vivi.
Yeah.
For generic, a blue and a red, a legendary creature wizard, 0, which I haven't seen this in Magic in a while, colon, add X mana of any combination of blue and or red, where X is VV power, activate only during your turn and only once each turn. Then it has, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on VV, deals 1 damage to each opponent, and it's a 0/3.
No, Vivi's from Final Fantasy 9. He's one of the early characters. 8 years old. Is a black mage, and from what I remember, black mages were either controlled by the queen. There's a queen something card. They were either controlled by her or they were just evil by nature, and for some reason Vivi broke that mold.
Okay.
I think probably because they were a child. But it's, when I think of it that way, it's kind of flavorful for the second part. The first part is just nuts. Because I mean, how many things out there for 1 mana can give +7 power or something dumb like that?
Get you just a huge ritual, yeah.
Yeah. Like one of the things I saw people talking about was rights of, I can't remember what the red rights card was, but it's 1 red, discard any number of cards and all your creatures get +1/+0 equal to the number of cards you pitch. And do that, pitch your hand, get this huge mana on turn 2 in
Commander.
in CDH, and boom. I mean, there's CDH decks popping up all the time with this.
Yeah, I know the cards you're talking about. Yeah, rights of whatever. But it's like random. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool card. I was just curious about the lore because I just think of that look as being like, because I'm going to be a black mage now, my character looks like this. But there are a certain race of characters in them. Are the little tokens, Josh or Jim, have you seen the token that makes an 01 black wizard? Are those, do they look like Vivi? Do we know?
I think so. Because Vivi definitely looked... It's the iconic black mage outfit from all of Final Fantasy. The hat, you can't see their face, and the blue robe. And from what I remember, all the other black mages from Final Fantasy 9, looked exactly like Vivi, except Vivi had like the red tie or something on the front that you could tell them apart from the others.
So that red tie is very important. Okay.
Yeah.
Direct tie-in. Well, and it's just a wizard. I think there's only one other character in Magic that's been just a wizard, and I think that's Arcanus. And he also has a hidden face. I'm just having this revelation.
Nice.
Oh my god. Also, weirdly, blue-red creature, but a black mage. So just find that funny.
Yeah, that is kind of funny. But it kind of fits with black mage's attack magic. Very blue and red type magic that they cast.
Don't they cast lightning, fire, and water or ice or whatever?
Yeah, and it's like, or it would be thunder, Thundara, Thundaga. Earlier games it was Thunder, Thunder 2, and Thunder 3. But
before there was flavor, 1, 2, and 3.
Anything that's attack magic would be black mages. Anything that's like healing and revival magic would be white mages.
Okay. Cool.
Jim, did you watch He-Man as a kid?
Oh, absolutely.
This is
Oh,
looks exactly like Oko, right?
it looks a lot like Orko, yeah.
Orko, yeah.
Um, but just since you've said that, I have actually made the statement that, I'm not a big fan of Universes Beyond, but if they ever made a Masters of the Universe set, I would go broke. I could absolutely see Masters of the Universe fitting into the same, uh, kind of niche place that Final
Yeah.
Fantasy is in the Magic universe.
Yeah. I think we're getting a Masters of the Universe movie sometime soon, aren't we?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh,
maybe
chances happen.
maybe they'll do a tie-in.
Hey, I hope so.
Oh.
Mattel and Hasbro would have to come to an agreement.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot they're separate. They're
But
competing
they
companies.
have done it before in the past. I did actually look up at one time because I was like, could this happen? And I looked up, have Hasbro and Mattel ever, work together on something? And they have.
I still stand by whenever if Magic's ever able to get the Pokemon IP, we will see something like we've never seen before.
I don't want to open that can of worms.
Because right now, Final Fantasy is like, to me, like the Black Swan event. If you guys watch like Rudy and Alpha Investments, he was like Black Swan event. Like, I feel like this is like one of the biggest IPs we may ever have. And the only thing I can even fathom being as big as Final Fantasy is Pokemon. And it's going to be like, you want a collector box? How about $1,200?
Oh God!
Like minimum, and you're not getting one. Your LGS is about to be swarmed. Like, it will be a nightmare. Anyway, sorry, that's a little tangent, but looking forward to pulling my mythic Pikachu.
And just to kind of go off of that, I mean, it's surprising. It actually is surprising to me, and I don't know why, that Final Fantasy has become the biggest selling Magic set of all time, and it hasn't been released yet. We're in an age where you have to pre-order things before you know what any card is.
Mm-hmm.
And, now that I've been seeing cards, I would have loved to have gotten a collector boosters box. But there's no way I'm going to pay that kind of price for it.
Yeah.
Plus, where are you going to find one? They're all sold out.
Yeah.
So Titus is the protagonist from Final Fantasy X. And he is this young guy that's really good at this sport called Blitzball. And he's from, a place called Xanarkand. And he wakes up in a weird place one day. And everybody he tells that he's from Xanarkand, they don't believe him. And he's just kind of trying to figure out how to go home. But Blitzball's still around, so the big mini game for Final Fantasy X is literally Blitzball. And it's played inside a giant sphere of water. And you're underwater the whole time. And the best thing I could say that it was like would be take soccer and Quidditch and mash them together.
Oh.
And that's what it is.
Does this game predate Harry Potter?
I believe so.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I mean, there's no like golden snitch or anything, but just kind of like the keeper and all that. But this is flavorful for the fact that whenever he attacks, you tap a target creature an opponent controls, because one of his big Blitzball moves is to literally remove one of the defenders.
Oh, okay. So it's straight on flavor. I was just curious what Blitzball was, because there's several cards. There's a Blitzball Stadium, Blitzball Side Quest, Blitzball Shot. So I'm like, what is this game?
Nick, why don't you read the card for us?
Yeah, so Titus Blitzball Star, 1 a blue and a white for legendary creature human warrior. Whenever an artifact you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Titus. Whenever Titus attacks, tap target creature an opponent controls. It's a 2/1, and it says flavor text: every blitzer knows when you got the ball, you got to score.
And that's straight from the game.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his father. Yeah, his father is like an overbearing, sports father guy, but he was also a big Blitzball star. And he has this, I think there's even a card called the Ject Shot, But his father is named Jecht, Jecth or something. But there's this move you can learn in the game, which is called the Jecht shot. You can remove like 3 defenders with it.
Oh, I
This
see.
is
It's pretty cool.
this is giving me Ricky Bobby vibes. Like you're if you ain't first, you're last. There is a card card in the set Jecht Reluctant Guardian. I
Yep.
think Nick wanted to talk about it. Is that his dad?
I know.
Yeah, that's his dad.
Okay, well let's talk about that card.
Can't remember.
Yeah, so I'll read them. Jecht, Reluctant Guardian. 3 and a black for a legendary creature human warrior. He has Menace. Whenever Jecht deals combat damage to a player, you may exile it and return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. And then his other side is when he's transformed, he becomes Vraska's Final Aeon. He's got Chapter 1 and 2, Jecht Beam. Each opponent discards a card, and you may draw a card. And then Ultimate Jecht Shot. Each opponent sacrifices 2 creatures of their choice. It's a legendary enchantment creature, Saga Nightmare with Menace. It's a 7/7. So his dad's kind of crazy.
Well, the flavor.
More behind that.
Well, look at
Oh,
the
go ahead.
flavor. The flavor text on the front. Well, trying to follow in my footsteps, are you?
Yeah.
There's a scene in the game where he's kind of remembering Jecht trying to teach him that shot, and he berates him and all that kind of stuff. You find out that people he talks to, that Titus talks to, knows of Jecht, and they call him Sir Jecht. And they're like, what's up with that? Well, you find out he is a previous guardian of a sorceress, of a summoner. And he kind of disappeared at some point. And the whole reason he transforms into Vraska's Final Aeon, because one of the final bosses of the game summons, and Aeon is another way to say Eidolon or a summon or an Esper. And in Final Fantasy X, one of the big bosses of the game summons him, and you have to fight him. And it's one of, out of all the music choices in all the Final Fantasy games, they have this like metal song with somebody doing like the gruff screams, like, and it is probably the best intro of any bad guy I think I've seen, aside from maybe Sephiroth at the end because of his music. But it's pretty badass, and it's very flavorful too, because if you just look at it in the context of Blitzball, he's removing threats, he's removing defenders.
Yeah. I love this card. I might actually play this card as in one of my commander decks. And then also, my roommate is a bit of a Final Fantasy fan, and I have tried to get into the series a couple times. Played 13, but 13 was trash apparently. I'm really good at picking the worst in a series to join in on. He told me the story of 7, and he told me the story of 10, and so I kind of know some of what's going on here. And I might be playing 10 at some point in the near future.
10's a good one.
Yeah, kind of interested in doing that. And then I heard that 10's whole setting is like on a beach, kind of, or it's a beachy vibe, but it's very sad. So that was the short.
It is very bad, ish. And then they continue the story in Final Fantasy X2, and that kind of helps bring some levity back to the story. So
cool. Yeah, it's interesting just to feel that crossover pull. And then also, I just to reference this again about the crossover, why it's so big. Final Fantasy has its own card game. I've played it. It's kind of fun. Very Magic adjacent. So I guess I'm not surprised that Final Fantasy heads are like, oh my gosh, as Magic cards. They probably were already Magic players to some degree, and so just kind of cool to see that. But that was my whole thing on bringing up Titus, because I knew he was the main character of 10, and then I was curious to see kind of a little bit more of that. So a lot of 10 cards here. Josh, I know you got a few more in the holster. What do you got going on over there?
Yeah, I want to talk about this Queen Braheen.
Oh my god, this thing looks like a nightmare.
Yeah.
What in the blue? Oh my god.
So I'll go ahead and read the card for you guys. It's
Yeah.
I'm saying that right? Braheen.
I think it's Brawn.
Okay, Queen Brawn. 2 and a red, legendary creature, human noble. Prowess, and whenever Queen Brawn attacks, create a 0/1 black wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent, and it's a 2/1. And this card seems pretty busted. This is
the Lord of all the VVs?
This is going to get out of control really fast.
If you notice in the background of this art, it's a bunch of different black mages.
Yeah, you can see all the black mages behind her.
And the ability that the black mages have, the ones that she creates, is kind of adjacent to Vivi's second ability, where whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on Vivi. So
and they're black wizard tokens. Black wizard.
Yeah.
Black mages. It makes sense. It's making sense.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, black, quote unquote evil, and Vivi not being black kind of makes more sense when you look at it in the context of the game.
Yeah.
I can't. It's this goofiest looking card art that makes the cutest token I'll ever see, probably.
Yeah, I'm just like looking at this from like a standard perspective. Like this, I feel, or limited. This could go out of control pretty quickly.
Oh yeah,
this is like a super young. This is like a super young pyromancer, right? Like, not only does it go wide and block, you like start doming them every time you do anything.
Yeah, and absurd. With bodies, even I mean, they're small bodies, but still.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen one gutter snipe kill somebody. This is like a ton of gutter snipes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, in standard, do they have anything crazy that you can like cast multiple spells or just kind of go nuts?
Oh god, this will probably find a home in the Corey Steelcutter blue-red prowess decks.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, those are annoying.
Yeah, you're gonna
having PTSD from Arena.
You're gonna be flooded with monks and black wizards.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm into it. Can't wait to see the coverage. I bet you a bunch of those Final Fantasy cards are going to be used as tokens. Like the little Black Mage cards can be your token. Because I bet you these tokens are going to be expensive.
Yeah.
So sick, super sick. I love it. I love this card. Big fan. Also, it's a legend. You could build. I mean, this would be a funny commander deck. Like, you could probably kill everybody. You just like play it, untap, play 4 sorceries, and everyone's like takes like how much damage is that? The first one's 0, the second one's 1. So you'll do everyone like 6 on the first go, and the next turn it's like everyone's for 4 plus damage to everybody. Like, oof.
I just realized I'm going to be putting her in my Oger Axonil deck.
Oh yeah, because that's non-combat damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that set still in standard?
Yes.
Ixalan?
Mm-hmm.
Oger Axonil synergy.
That was Lost Caverns of Ixalan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still in.
Ooh.
It's Dominaria United on is standard right now.
Ooh, we're brewing up something. Uh-oh.
Well, I'm gonna put it in my Oger Axonil commander deck.
Well, that's standard or commander. I mean, that's pretty saucy. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's super sick. So I've got 2 cards left. What about you guys? Where are you guys at on your list?
I got 2 that I want to talk about.
All right, let's do it.
You go first.
Let's go with what the card I think is the most flavorful card in the game, in the set, and that's Zac Fair. So Zac Fair is 1 white for a legendary creature, human soldier. He enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. You can pay 1 to sacrifice him. Target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Put Zac Fair's counters on that creature and attach an equipment that was attached to Zac Fair to that creature. Now, if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, there's some spoilers ahead. But if you look at the art, he kind of looks like a black-haired Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
That's because in Final Fantasy VII, and I don't know if they've gotten to this part in the remake trilogy, but in Final Fantasy VII, at the end of Disc 2, you find out that Cloud is not actually an ex-soldier. Soldier is kind of like the name Seed from 8. It's Shinra's like elite force. You find out that he was never a soldier.
So pause. That's why soldiers capitalize is because Shinra, it's like a faction.
Yeah.
Okay.
I asked somebody online last week after our podcast why soldier was capitalized, and they
actually I found out too, but I wanted to say it on the podcast.
But yeah, it's you find out that Cloud basically took on his persona after Zac sacrificed himself so Cloud could live. And like if you play Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, you're literally the protagonist of that is Zac. You're playing Zac the whole time. And then the last thing that happens is that scene right before Final Fantasy VII starts. And that's him fighting hundreds of Shinra soldiers. And it's funny because if you get high enough in level in that game, you can sit there and fight for 3 straight hours just fighting all these soldiers. But eventually, you are going to be beat. And what ends up happening is he dies, and then Cloud picks up the Buster Sword, and from then on, I mean, because at that point, Cloud was also like out of it, had amnesia, didn't know what was going on, and he kind of merged his own backstory and Zac. So he, was a soldier at that point.
Stolen valor.
Poser.
It kind of was stolen valor a little bit, but to become a soldier, you have to be bathed in Mako energy. And Mako is kind of like what the life stream of the planet produces, and compressed Mako is what forms materia. And that's where people get their abilities in Final Fantasy VII. You can tell that someone's been Mako touched or whatever by their eyes. And Cloud has that because there's some big showdown with Sephiroth in the past. Tifa was there, where Cloud ends up facing Sephiroth and gets, his Sephiroth's sword through his gut. And then that's where Zac finds him. They end up kind of in these Bacta tanks, like from Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's the Mako or the Mako bath, and they escape from there and they try to get back to Midgar. And right outside Midgar is where the Shinra soldiers find them, and Zac, sacrifices his life, and it's very flavorful. For the first time I read this, I almost shed a tear because it is perfect. He gets a +1/+1 counter. He when you sacrifice him, you put everything that is him onto another creature, and that creature gets to live until the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So nice. It's literally, I want to have that counter. I want the Buster Sword attached to Zac Fair. I want Cloud in play, and I want to be able to sacrifice Zac so that all of that stuff can go on to Cloud. that's one of my big goals with this set when I make my commander decks. That has to happen.
And then the reality is going to be he has it all out. Then somebody casts farewell. He's like, no,
Yeah, I know that's what's gonna
no,
happen.
that's the wrong wrath. That's
Tragic
the wrong wrath.
Tragic slip.
Yeah.
Our friend Dan, and I always wanted to. He played Apocalypse in one of his decks, and I always played Cancel in another deck so I could cancel the Apocalypse. And if it was going to happen, I was going to do that speech from Pacific Rim, and unfortunately, it never happened before Dan passed. But it was something we always wanted to do, and every time we got close, something happened to make it to where it didn't work.
So now the Zach Fair onto Cloud is the new quest.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
So
it's sad it says you control. I wish it was anybody. Could you imagine if you're like, that's Cloud, this like your guy is, you know what I mean? I think that'd be funnier.
That would be flavorful too.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
So you talked about Tifa a second ago. Do you want to talk about her cards?
Yeah, because so Tifa's my girl. She is my favorite female lead in all of Final Fantasy, and she's actually my favorite female anime character ever.
Mm.
And the reason being is she is not the typical love interest for the protagonist, and that's where like Renoa from Final Fantasy VIII kind of fails. She's literally girly girl, almost kind of defines herself by who she's with, blah blah blah. Tifa is kind of that strong independent woman that don't need no man but wants one anyway. She is a very well thought out character. Even more so with the remake trilogy. And I've only played the first one of those. The second one's out. I haven't been able to play it yet. But she is, she's strong. She's tough. She's still sensitive. She can be motherly. She and Cloud grew up together, and then when he turned 15, he went off to join Soldier. And when he came back to their hometown, which is where all that showdown happened, where that I was talking about with Zach, and then they ended up in the back to tanks type thing. Tifa was there as a guide, and earlier in the game, when Cloud is talking about that, he's talking about it from Zach's perspective, but that he was there. And the whole time Tifa is just kind of like, what? Because Tifa was there. She was the guide. So she starts thinking maybe she remembered it wrong because she didn't remember him being back. Except right at the end, after Cloud got stabbed, he went over and made sure Tifa was okay, and that's the first time she remembers seeing his face at that. Because he was just a soldier, so he kept his helmet on the whole time. Like just a regular grunt, not a, soldier.
Yeah.
Right.
But you see, I know I'm kind of fanboying a little bit over Tifa. So I'm kind of rambling a little bit. But I have 2 different playmats that I have custom made that have Tifa on it. One of them I just got, and it's amazing. I'll send you a picture of it so you can put it up on this in the edit. But yeah, she's a monk, so she's a fighter, but she doesn't look like a monk. She's brunette, shapely, all that kind of stuff, and just even though that she's kind of in this weird love triangle with her, Cloud, and Aerith, which we haven't talked about, but Aerith was Zach's girlfriend, and she kind of latches on to Cloud.
Oh.
After Zach, dies.
Plot thickens.
So
I didn't know
there's
this. The
there's
secret
all-
rendezvous makes more sense.
there's all these theories, and there's these two camps for if Cloud is supposed to end up with, or if Cloud and Aerith were the real thing, or if Cloud and Tifa are the real thing. In all of that, they never made Tifa and Aerith enemies. They were actually really good friends. And she was just as, another spoiler coming up, Tifa was just as devastated as Cloud was when Sephiroth killed Aerith in the game.
Yeah, I spoiled that last time.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Okay.
I said
cool.
said Sephiroth made her into a two-winged angel.
That's right.
Yep. But just I don't know what it is that that draws me to her so much. I mean, other than her, definitely being what my type is in real life. But
when's Kenzie gonna start taking kickboxing or something?
Oh, I don't want to underestimate the amount of ass she could kick.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But no, Tifa has all these great abilities that she does for her limit break. She has a version of the suplex. It's not called suplex. It's like meteor dive or something.
Ooh.
There's this one called dolphin blow where she basically shoryukens, and there's a dolphin that jumps up when she does it. Terrible name. But the cool thing with hers is each time she gets her new limit break, it adds a move onto when she does her limit break. So she does all of those moves. There's just this spinner that comes up, and you have to hit the spinners at the right time, or else it'll skip that particular move.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, if you've got all of her moves unlocked, you can do every single one of them all the way up to Final Heaven, which is basically her taking her fist and getting all this power and then basically punching somebody with a nuclear bomb.
Oh my god.
Oh, I love the overkill that Final Fantasy does. It's ridiculous.
And this is my time to plug. I know you made me a token, but I need Magic to make a professional face breaker. That's Tifa. Like, that needs to happen. If it isn't gonna happen, I need that secret lair yesterday. Just so you know. Putting out there.
Absolutely. Although I did see that professional face breaker, they have somebody else, or they've because it is printed in one of the commander decks, and I don't remember what the person was. That's the face of it.
I'm looking it up.
But no, I seriously thought that the secret lair was going to have her.
Oh yeah, they did. Some random dude from 7, some like dude with a mask.
You're probably one of the bad guys.
Yeah, bad guy. Boo.
One of the... but
so
Tifa...
last. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say now the big question we all have on our minds. We haven't actually read the Tifa Martial Artist. So Tifa Martial Artist is colorless, red, green, and white for a legendary creature human monk with melee. Whenever one or more creatures you control with power 7 or greater deal combat damage to a player, untap all creatures you control. If it's the first combat phase of your turn, there's an additional combat phase after this one, and she's a 4/4. Now, the reason I wanted to read that card, A, it's cool. I think it's in the commander deck. But B, why is Tifa, according to the internet, because she's red, green, and white, why is she Italian?
So, there's a lot of... What's the best way to say this? So before Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, there's this one infamous video of Tifa.
Oh no, I didn't know it was so dark.
We can edit it out. It's all right.
Okay. I was like, oh no, I opened the wrong can of worms.
But
you were making the wrong motion with your hand there, Nick.
Yeah.
So that was like it until Remake came out, and now the internet is full of Tifa Prawn.
Oh, gotcha.
And what happened? The reason she's got Italian colors, there was an Italian Senate meeting or Italian legislature meeting going on over Zoom during the pandemic, like towards the end of the pandemic, and somebody hacked into it and started playing Tifa Prawn.
Oh, wow.
So
Deep cut.
Oh yeah. Now there's fan art out there of Tifa in a business suit in the actual Italian Senate with like the Italian flag behind her and different things like that.
Whoa. Amazing. 10 out of 10 story. Might not be PG for the.
I'll have to mark this one over 18 only.
Oh yeah, sheesh. Oh my God.
We can cut out the part of the first video I was talking about.
Yeah.
So then
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, that's the whole reason.
Wow.
And
oh man,
I didn't realize it, or I didn't realize it until somebody pointed it out. I was just like, oh my gosh, that's perfect.
Oh.
Well, and it's like it's another one of those things that's just a nod to memes, kind of like the suplex card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was that other one I wanted to talk about? Inspiring Call. Inspiring Call has I think that's a reprint. But it has Titus and Yuna on it, and it's from this famous scene in Final Fantasy X. And if you look up worst video game voice acting, there's this scene where they try to force laughter to make sure that they're happy, and it's like him going, I mean, it's terrible. But and if the flavor text on that is literally ha 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 ha. So there's a lot of those kind of little nods in this, and I think that's where I can see how there's a lot of love that was put into this set.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you watch, I've watched all the like live streams that Magic does every Tuesday, and like all the stuff that they talk about, you can definitely tell that they had Final Fantasy fans make these cards. Like they went over to Japan multiple times to, Square and met with them and talk with them and got input, and yeah, a lot of care was taken with this set, which I think they knew it was going to be big, and they didn't want to mess it up. So
yeah, lots of TLC.
Yeah, it's a very well designed set from what I can see too.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Oh wow, so many deep cuts just all over the place. I was not expecting that.
We could do probably 4 different podcasts on this and still not hit everything that's nice.
So do you have any more cards? Or did we got to Tifa? That was a big one.
The only other one I was going to talk about was Sephiroth's intervention, which is literally him coming down to kill Aerith. And it's a destruction spell.
Yep. I have 2, but technically one of them's like 3 cards. And then, so anyway, I'll just start off. So I want to talk about, 2 of them, multiple cards, because that's how Magic is now. So first I want to talk, one of my buddies, I actually referenced him in the last podcast, had a Red 13 onesie, but he also cosplayed Vincent Valentine for multiple years. And to see this character finally kind of was awesome to me. So Vincent Valentine, 2 black for legendary creature Assassin. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a number of +1/+1 counters on Vincent Valentine equal to that creature's power. Whenever Vincent Valentine attacks, you may transform it. It's a 2/2. Then it turns into Galleon Beast, legendary creature Werewolf Beast. Trample Lifelink. Whenever Galleon Beast dies, return to the battlefield tapped. Front face up. 3/2. So, is he a main character? What's up with this guy? I don't think he is. He's in 7?
He's in 7. He is a secret character. that you have to
Oh.
do things to find. There's 2 secret characters in Final Fantasy VII. There's Yuffie and Vincent. Vincent you find in the basement of a mansion, and it turns out he's kind of this. You find him in a coffin, and he
Oh.
kind of gives off vampire vibes, but that's not really what he is. But he's somehow immortal. You don't. There's a Final Fantasy VII game called Dirge of Cerberus that stars him. I've never played that one, but it's supposed to give you a little bit more backstory on him. But he's the quintessential dark and brooding anime guy that you've seen 100 times. But he's got this neat ability that his limit break, he turns into a monster, and then stays there for a while, and then once the limit break, well, if he dies in the limit break form, he comes back, as just him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very flavorful there. But kind of a funny aside, or not aside, but when you look at the Galleon Beast, the other side of him, I don't totally remember what he looks like in that form, because I don't usually play Vincent when I play Final Fantasy VII. But this form that they're showing there looks a lot like the Final Fantasy staple creature Behemoth, which is a big thing that's usually on all fours, but it looks exactly like this.
Okay.
But this one for some reason is bipedal. But the big horns, the red mane of fur, some giant like lion wolf thing. So that's an interesting choice there. If they don't come out with a Behemoth card, I would assume that this is kind of the nod to Behemoths.
Also, weirdly, I noticed he's not a human assassin. He's just assassin on the front, which is wacky.
I think that kind of goes to the whole thing of you don't know if he's a vampire
Right.
or undead or what the heck he is.
Yeah, nobody does apparently. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, he's very mysterious that way. Quick aside, Matt Mercer from Critical Role, the Dungeon Master for Critical Role, he voices Vincent Valentine.
Wow.
In the remake games. He was brought in because he's a voice actor as well. He was brought in to do minor character voices, and as he was standing at the VO booth, a video starts playing of and it goes, Vincent Valentine, played by Matthew Mercer. And so they kind of just like sprung that on him, and he was so honored that they did that surprise for him. But yeah, that's my big Vincent lore.
Oh wow. A lot more there than
Nick. I have a question for you though. Which side did your buddy cosplay?
The front side.
Okay.
The assassin side, yeah. I didn't even know he turned into a werewolf thing. I'm like, whoa. So I never saw my friend at night though. Maybe you turned. No, I didn't.
Oh yeah.
And then the last card I have to talk about is like multiple cards because I'm excited about it because I really am interested in Meld. I was expecting this to come back a few different times in Magic. I thought when we returned to Amonkhet, we might get a Osiris style card where it's like a multi-card put together. Maybe Nicol Bolas has that. But finally, Meld's back. I'm very interested in this mechanic. For many things, thought Transformers might do it. The big super thing. But anyway, Final Fantasy did it. The card is Vanilli, I believe. Cheerful LC. Is it Vanilli or is it
Vanille?
Okay. Vanille. Cheerful LC. 3 and a green for a legendary creature human cleric. When Vanille enters, mill 2 cards and return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. At the beginning of your first main phase, if you own and control both Vanille and a creature named Fang, Fearless Lucille, you may pay 3 and a black and a green. If you do, exile them and meld them into Ragnarok Divine Deliverance. And she's a 3/2. And then that means I have to read Fang, Fearless LC. Fang, Fearless LC, 2 and a black for legendary creature, human warrior. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, draw a card and lose 1 life. This ability only triggers once each turn. Melds with Vanille Cheerful LC is a 2/3. And then finally, you put them all together for 12 mana. You get Ragnarok, Divine Deliverance, Legendary Creature, Beast Avatar, Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Haste. When Ragnarok dies, destroy target permanent and return target non-legendary permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and is a 7/6. And then if you look at the arts on both the cards, there's like they're doing something, and there's this weird effigy thing that's near both of them. I'm like, did they accidentally fuse with a summon? Like, what is going on?
Okay.
Anyway.
So, Final Fantasy 13. One of the big things with that is, I forget exactly how all this came down, but you could be touched by some kind of otherworldly entity and you would become a l'Cie, which is what they're talking about here with Vanille and Fang. And if you notice on the Fang card, I believe, on her shoulder, you can see that there is a funky symbol. That's the symbol that all l'Cie are marked with. And it's kind of like you have either this fate or this destiny that you're going to hit. If you hit the good one, you basically become a crystal. You become crystallized, and that is shown in the Sarah card. Sarah Farron, I think is her name.
Yeah.
Because like her flip side is it shows her in crystal form. But the other thing is if you don't meet your destiny, if you don't complete something, I forget exactly what it is. It's been a while since I played 13 as well. But then you become a fal'Cie, which is kind of like a fallen. And there's this weird shape looking thing that you become. From what I remember, towards the end of the game, because you've come across Fang, you come across Vanille. They're both from, I forget what the name of it is. There's Spira and something else. No, Spira was 10. Well, anyway, there's a moon orbiting a planet, and the all the sophisticated people and technology and everything, that all lives on the moon. And then they will banish l'Cie to the planet, which is basically a wilderness and all that kind of stuff. And both Fang and Vanille are from there.
Oh.
And at the end of this, something happens to where they merge and become this Ragnarok. And Ragnarok, the name, is a big thing in Final Fantasy. In Final Fantasy VIII, Ragnarok was the name of the airship. Final Fantasy VII, Ragnarok was a sword. So having Ragnarok in there was kind of neat. And from what I remember from when they combine, this is pretty much an ultimate thing of what they do. You know, it's kind of hard to put what that was into Magic terms, but I think this does a pretty good job of doing that.
So is this something they would like team up and power up and turn into temporarily, or is it like this happened, they stayed that? I don't know.
This happened, they stayed that, and then at the end of the game, you find the two of them almost yin yang as crystals.
Oh, okay.
So they kind of allude to Vanille and Fang being more than just, friends. They're either sisters or they're lovers. You can't tell.
Oh, okay.
But having them end up like that was kind of poetic.
Oh, okay. That Yeah, I was just so curious. I was like, this is like they really busted it, and then for uncommons, they like busted out this like super odd technology, and they're like, here it is, and there's a big story to it. So glad
I
to
just
see it.
realized that they were uncommon. Holy crap!
Yeah,
It's kind of cool. You talk
so,
about they ended up like kind of yin yang. They're both enemy colors too, black and green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that actually very much fits their character too, because Vanille, very bubbly, cheerful, typical anime girl, and then Fang is, the typical aloof, strong, uh, you know, kind of, for lack of a better term, uh, witchy uh, anime girls.
gotcha.
But they kind of complement each other, and Fang is the only one in that game that can summon Bahamut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because everybody becomes, I believe everybody in your party at one point becomes a Lassie, and a Lassie can summon. Um, you have to, I forget what you have to do it, but each um each character had their own summon, like Lightning, the main character. I believe her summon was Odin. I can't remember
Oh,
what Vanille's
yeah.
was, but
I kind of remember that.
yeah. 13. I didn't hate 13, but every people's criticisms of it are valid. It was a very railroady game. You didn't have kind of open world until you were in the last quarter of the game.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's why I stopped playing it. I was like, I don't know what the story is. I don't like it, and I don't feel like I can make any choices. So
Yeah, I did
cool.
end up beating it. It's okay. I don't hate it. And 13 had 2 sequels.
Yeah, and I heard those were great. So, or they were better. So,
Yeah, I think
huh.
I played the second one. I did not play the third.
And they actually made a summon Odin, but it's for 14. It's from 14, I guess. It's summon Primal Odin, 4 black black. It has Gungnir, destroy target creature and opponent controls. Then it has Sentetsuken. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. Oh, that's cool. And then Hall of Sorrow, draw 2 cards. Each player loses 2 life. Champ Creature Saga Knight, 5/3. That card's sweet. Eventually becomes a Phage. That's my type of card right there.
The
My type of card.
Odin in some of the other games, uh, like in 7, he had 2 ultimates, and it was Gungnir and Zantetsuken. Uh, Gungnir or whatever was just this lance that he pulled out, and he threw it in the sky. It came down and it dealt a bunch of damage. Zantetsuken, and this was in 8. This happened as well. If he showed up and did that, whatever you were fighting, he shows up and he does like 4 cuts, and they put like a Japanese character on the screen. The kind of like the ones he makes,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of the bad guys that you're fighting, literally they take the graphic for them and split them all in half and have them kind of slide,
Oh,
and then you literally just beat everybody.
oh, cool.
So that's kind of where the when this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. So that's kind of
Yeah,
flavorful.
yeah, you're just dead.
Yeah.
If you manage to live, you're in the Hall of Sorrow.
Although I kind of thought that Zantetsuken would have been like a Plague Wind effect or an Ingaruk's Wake effect, something like that, where
Mm-hmm.
it destroys all the creatures that are not yours.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from there. And it should be, and I didn't realize it was a Japanese word. So it's Zantetsuken is how it should be said.
Okay.
Zantetsuken. But yeah, cool. The Elder Primal Odin has returned to Erozera, but this is from a different game. So this isn't the same summon that Lightning
Yeah.
used, or it is just different flavor.
I mean, it's the same summon. It's just from a different game.
Oh, so
Like
new
Odin is
style.
another one that is in a lot of the games.
Gotcha.
The only ones I think that are in every game, save for 12, but I'll get to that in a second, are Ifrit, which is the fire summon, Shiva, which is the ice summon, and then Bahamut.
Gotcha.
But the reason I say they weren't in 12 is because 12 is the least Final Fantasy of all of the Final Fantasy games. It was the first one to not, other than the online one, Final Fantasy 11. It was the first one to not have turn-based combat. It was more action-oriented. The summons that they had were names that we had never heard of before, but they had big air warships in this, and each one of those was named like the Ifrit, the Bahamut, the Shiva. So they were still there, just not,
how you expected it.
And I will say this, even though it's the least Final Fantasy of all the Final Fantasies and probably my least favorite Final Fantasy game, it is the Final Fantasy game that I have put the most hours into. I have almost 200 hours into it, and I still have not beaten that game.
Oh. Wild.
And that's just because there is so much in that game.
Oh.
It wasn't boring. It's not a bad game. I just don't like it as a Final Fantasy game.
It's just different to what you expect from the genre.
Yeah, it's too different.
Gotcha. Okay. That happens in Magic too. Actually, this is through this whole story, I'm kind of hearing a lot of things like from Magic, like they have lores from different like regions of the world, and they interpolate it, and then they reinterpolate their things. It's kind of like in Magic, a Theros Minotaur and a Minotaur from Zendikar, like two different things, but they're still Minotaurs, So kind of cool how Final Fantasy does that, and maybe another reason why it meshes over so well.
Yeah, I think so. Because Magic has their own versions of real world stuff, like Theros is Greek mythology, Kaldheim is Norse mythology, and the summons in Final Fantasy pulls from the real world. With Odin is a god of the Norse, Bahamut is a dragon god, and
Knights of the Round, Shiva, yeah, all over it. So kind of cool. But yeah, I think we've explored all my cards, all Josh's cards, and all of Jim's cards. Anything else we want to say today for our podcast?
Oh, let's do one last card, and it just came out today because it's nuts, and that's Summon Titan. 2 green and 3. First one is mill 5 cards. Number 2, return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And the third one is until end of turn, another target creature you control gains trample and gets +X/+X, where X is the number of lands you control. It's got reach, trample, and it's a 7/7. This card is insane. It is very flavorful to the Titan summon because he is very much an earth summon that in one of the animations he shows up and he literally lifts up the ground and throws it on top of the bad guys. So him bringing lands from your graveyard to the battlefield tap, that fits perfectly. But this is like, it's almost like a cheaper Lumra with an extra thing tacked onto it. And I saw this and I'm like, well, this is immediately going into my winter deck. Which is the one with the Delirium that returns.
2 types too, yeah.
Yeah. It is nuts. I just wanted to bring that up because that is a nutty card.
Already power crept Lumra. I thought that card was like the new Primeval Titan. That's crazy. Wow. Wowie zowie. That's crazy. Huh. I didn't think about it like that, but you're right. It is basically that. I guess it's temporary. You don't. You get hit for 15 or something by it. I mean, in normal Magic, standard, you just get bopped by that sucker once, you're probably gonna die.
Well, and here's the thing too. lore counter 3 goes off before you have to sacrifice Titan, sacrifice it to greater good, draw 7 cards, pitch 3. I mean, there's so many nasty things you can do with
Can
this.
you do that?
Mm-hmm.
I thought with sagas this is just my ignorance. I thought with sagas, once you put the 3rd lore counter on them, they're sacked.
No, the last part of the ability resolving is you sacrifice the.
Oh, okay. So it's tied. So trigger goes on, it stays, and then it goes. Okay. Okay. So you got to beat him in the face with a 7/7 for 2 turns, and then you give another thing plus like 10, and then also you can sack it, do whatever in the meantime. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
Pretty good.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got. I mean,
wow.
I could go on for days about this. So.
All right. Well, to wrap this up, there's a card that I do want to talk about, and that's Triple Triad.
Okay.
Because I have a story with this, and Jim, you want to read the card for us?
Sure. It's 3 red and 3 enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player exiles the top card of their library. Until end of turn, you may play the card you own exiled this way, and each other card exiled this way with lesser mana value than it without paying their mana costs. So Triple Triad is the mini game from Final Fantasy VIII. And the cool thing about the flavor of the game text is that in Triple Triad, it's kind of like dominoes, where well, with the cards, they have a number on all 4 sides. And you play a card next to another one if, depending on what rules of the region you are in the game, if the number on your card that borders with the next one is higher, that opponent's card flips. And then at the end of the game, you get that card. But then they can play another one that flips it back. Or, flip your card over. So the whole, you can play cards you own exiled this way and each other card that have less mana value. That's perfect.
Yeah. And it's kind of like...
I think that card's fun.
It's kind of like tic-tac-toe. It's kind of like a tic-tac-toe setup. Yeah.
Yeah, the game board is 9 spaces.
Yeah. So the story I have with this is, I don't know if you're into any of the Magic Facebook groups, but there's a guy that moderates a couple of them. His name's Onique. And so I met him in Vegas last year. We've talked online quite a bit. He put together a real life version of this, made a playmat, had cards printed and everything. And he's bringing it to Vegas, so we can play Triple Triad in real life with Magic cards.
Sweet.
So yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
That's
I
cool.
thought it was pretty cool. So looking forward to checking that out in Vegas when I'm there.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
I love that. That's gonna be so sick.
Yeah. So I didn't know anything about it, and he had this whole thing, and he had like instructions on how to play the game and everything. It seemed pretty cool. So yeah, it was like a kind of like a cross between like Othello, tic-tac-toe, and like, I don't know, whatever. Basically like Othello and tic-tac-toe, because you're flipping cards over, and you can like trap cards in the corner so they can't be flipped over anymore and all that. So he was gonna try to come up with some
most number of cards flipped to your side at the end of the game.
Yeah, and he was trying to come up with some prizes and stuff for it. So seems pretty cool. I'm looking forward to playing that in Vegas, but that's why I wanted to bring that card up. So
that's crazy.
Yeah,
No,
I can't wait to see about that.
That's one of the another good flavor card from this set. Just shows the amount of care they put into it. It's a goofy card.
It seems like every card has a story, like every single one.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
See, and there's a lot of characters from the games that I haven't played that have a lot of backstory that I just don't know yet. And that I'm actually looking forward to finding out some of that.
Oh, yeah. as you play the game, go back and play the games. Yeah.
You'd be like, I didn't know. You're gonna relayer your knowledge. You're gonna get all the deep knowledge.
Not gonna go back and do 11 or 14 because those are MMOs.
Yeah. Keep them away. Stay away.
Yep.
All right, is that all we want to talk about today?
Yeah, that's all I got to talk about. I mean, we
Okay.
could go forever, but I think we should
Yeah.
split it up a little bit.
Yeah,
I
this
think
is
we got
a
a lot of good stuff.
this is a huge set. It's 309 cards, and there's well over 100 and some legendaries in this set, not including the commander decks and the starter decks and all that stuff. So yeah, we'll be
Yep.
getting a lot more spoilers. They talked about the stuff today on the stream, the through the ages cards, and so we're getting a Primeval Titan is going to be
Yeah, I
in.
saw that.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. But so yeah, if you guys don't have anything else, then we'll sign off. So
All right, thanks
don't
for having me on,
yeah,
guys. This is really cool.
yeah, thank you, Jim, for coming by. And we started, I think, we all three of us started playing together around the same time. I think, like, what, time spiral ish block?
No. He started in '93.
No, I mean together, us all.
Oh,
At
to
the,
us. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
You too, I guess. Yeah, you two
yeah.
started
No,
playing
we
at the
both.
same
Yeah,
time.
yeah. We have
I
the
was
very.
still, I was 3 years old. Okay.
Yeah, we started at the same time, and like you said, you didn't start buying cars till Ice Age. That was same with me, and yeah, we have very very similar story there. So, but no, we were all over at the same store. I remember
Or one time, yeah.
yeah, Laura
The
when
Battle Zone or
It was around Battlezone and Josh's, I think.
Win More Games, yeah,
Win more games, yeah. So
yeah.
that was like
because I even go
right
back
at
to Hey Hey in 31st Century. It's way
yeah.
young-ish.
So, all right. Well, if that's all
Yeah.
we've got for today, thanks Jim for stopping by. We might, tag you in again. So, if you're willing, yeah. So don't forget to like, shower, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.
Peace.